So I feel like you guys do an updated pet room tour of this room because I think the last time I filmed one, we had just moved into this house and things weren't quite the way I wanted them to. A few things have changed. We have got new enclosures and new pets, so definitely do an update. I can't physically fit anything else into this room, so it is pretty much finished. And this could be the last time you guys see a pet room tour in this room and in this house because we are moving again in the next year or so, so going to be an entirely new pet room and probably the last time you see this one in detail because things are not going to change, at least with this room. Things are going to change as we move, but this is probably the last time you will see this room in detail, so I hope you guys enjoy. Here is my pet room. So if we start over on the left near the door, this is where the rat section is, and first thing you see when you walk in is these white IKEA storage boxes. These are really handy. I've just got a carrier on top. I keep all of their carriers in the room just so I can easily access them just in case of an emergency, so their carrier sits on top. And then we've got these plastic boxes from IKEA. So the first one has got their rat mix in. I don't put too much in this because obviously it's not an airtight container. And then we've got some more food, accessories and bits. And then the bottom one has got all of their back to nature bedding that I use in their litter trays. And then of course right next to this we have the rat cage. This is the Little Zoo Ventura. It's the double two-tier version, and above this we have a shelf. This again is from IKEA and we've got some artworks on this. This is my old rat Crumble, and then you can't really see but this is my old rat Sunday, and then we've got all of their artworks they're done with their paw prints. I've not got every single rat that I've had because I didn't start this with my first rats, and there's been a few that I have missed because they've passed away or something, so mostly got everyone on here. And I don't think it's in order because pretty much every single day I'm having to rearrange this because Kinder, my rat, likes to go up here and knock them off. So I've tried my best, but I don't think it's in chronological order. So we've got Sprout, Sunday, Moose, Crumble, Humbug, Twix, Whisper, Pudding, Polo and Crumpet. I do need to add in Aero and Kinders. I've not done them yet, and tried to find somewhere to squeeze them on the end because I'm quickly running out of space. But yeah, that is my rat cage. I've just got a wooden hide on top and it goes all the way down, and inside of this I've just got my 4 male rats. I've got Crumpet, Polo, Kinder and Aero, and I think they're all asleep at the moment. I think some of them might be in the hammock. Hello. Hi. So here's Aero, and then I think the rest of them are asleep in this hide here, so I'll insert some clips of them doing something interesting just so you can see their faces, but they're all in there at the moment. And then in front we've got this IKEA wine rack, and I just use this as a ladder for them because the perspex does come up pretty high in the rat cage and it can be quite hard to jump in and out, so just have this in front. I can move it around for them and they use this as a climbing frame. So then right next to the rat cage we've got their activity, cat tree, rat tree area. I have done an entire video on this, setting it up and giving you a tour specifically of their free roam areas, so that will go into way more detail about each individual thing. I'm not going to do that in this video because otherwise it would be pretty long, but you can see and get the gist of things. It's got a bunch of hammocks, places to hide, a bunch of places to dig in different textures, and forage for food. So this is their modified cat rat tree. They've got climbing things, hides, toys hanging off, all sorts of things. This I've been putting potted herbs in, so it's got a lot for them to do. And I will insert that video in the description just in case you want to see more about this in detail, about how I set this up. But yeah, essentially their ratry area is connected to the rat cage by branches and IKEA tie holders, and it goes all the way down and joins their dig box, which is on the floor here. Right next to the ratry is the windowsill. I can't put too many things on this. I would love to decorate this if I could, but the rats can, and they do get on this, and they will knock anything off, so can't really utilise the windowsill too much. But we have got this storage box. This is super handy, and I don't have anywhere else to put this, so it just kind of lives on the windowsill. But I basically put every single clip, screw, accessory that goes for the rats or the mice. All of that is stored in here, not very neatly because I did drop this at some point and it all came down, but it was very organised. Not so much anymore, but these are super, super handy, so I will link this in the description just in case you also need to organise all of the random screws and washers and stuff that comes with having rats and mice. Then below their ratry is their dig box. This is just a storage box for Christmas trees that I got from Argos, and it's really long and thin, and it goes all the way back under the table. And this just has a bunch of topsoil and also tissues, a malt paste lid that they've dragged in here. It really does need a refresh, so I will put some more soil in at some point. And it also has a water dish that I do empty out and clean, but I use that for things like pea fishing. So this space works really well. It's really big, but you can't really tell because it is pushed right back under the table. And then next to this is just a cat tunnel. This I think was from Wilko's, and this just goes all the way back behind there where I can't get to them, and they do like to spend most of their time. Then we just have a bunch of cat ones. The only rat that really plays with these is Aero, but he loves them, so I just keep those tucked away in that box until I want to use them. And then this I'd say is probably one of the main features of the room. This is a castle that was kindly sent to us by a brand called Pets Gang, and I have modified this slightly just to make it suitable and a bit more enriching for the rats. So it goes all the way down, has this really big ladder on the front, and sometimes I'll twist this the other way if I want to save space, and they can also access this. But I've varnished this obviously to protect it from the pee. I've put this fake plastic reptile plant on the front, and they've got all these hidey places underneath, but I've also modified this to give them a few foraging toys. So we've got this one on the front. Not really sure where the rest of these have gone. I think they're probably under the rat cage. And then we also have a foraging wheel. And then inside both of the turrets, are they called turrets? We've got 2 snuffle mats. So in each side I just spread all of their food, and they have to forage for it. So this I'd say is one of the rats' favourite places to spend during their free roam. They spend so long just running up and down this ramp and interacting with the different foraging toys. Then right next to this we have my stepping stool. This I have to use to access the harvest mice, which we'll get to in a second, but I also just use this to sit on when I need a break or during free roam when I don't feel like sitting on the floor. So this is super handy. I also love the way it looks, but I don't really have anywhere to put it, so it just kind of sits in this corner. So one of the few things that I do have on the windowsill are these treat jars. I think these were from Flying Tiger, and they're just cork on the top, and then they're actually plastic, which is good because, as I said, the rats do get up here and they try to steal the treats, and they do get knocked off sometimes. So inside of this we've got some apple pieces, carrot pieces, banana pieces, and then some other treats. And the windowsill looks dirty, I promise it's not. I think the people that installed our shutters didn't use the right silicone because it's gone really like sticky and gross. We also have a crack on the windowsill, which I can't paint because I can't paint whilst the rats and the mice are in here, so just ignoring that. And then moving round from the window, we've got my harvest mouse enclosure, and then we also have a carrier on top. Again, just in case of emergencies, although to be honest, if there was one, I don't think I could grab them as quick as I'd need to because they are pretty hard to handle. And then we've got this really cute sign next to them that I added recently that just says, enjoy the little things, which is so true because my entire brand and life is just enjoying the small rodents that often go unappreciated. So I had to get that sign. It was super cute and it really does look like one of my harvest mice if they were to sit on this little mushroom, so I had to buy that. But yeah, this is their enclosure. They were awake about 10 minutes ago, but as soon as they heard me start to film, they have disappeared, so I'll put in some clips of them. But this is their Exoterra. I have done a video fairly recently, she says, it was probably like 6 months ago at this point, making this bioactive. So it is a bioactive enclosure, but they are fairly low maintenance. They don't require as much as rats and mice. And then just next to them, I've got a tub of their food, which is mostly just grains and seeds and mealworms and things. So that lives next to their enclosure. And then this enclosure is actually on an IKEA calyx unit that is put vertically. I've had this unit pretty much longer than I've had any of the animals in here. I've had it since I was a teenager, I think, and it's just come with me. So this has all of my spare rat supplies, mostly some mouse supplies too. It's just got all of my hammocks, things like that, spare foraging toys and accessories. So all of this is very much full of rat supplies and mouse supplies, and then a couple of things for the harvest mice too, although they don't require anywhere near as much as the other animals do. So then moving around next to this, I feel like the lighting is not going to work in my favour trying to film this, but this is my reptile and invertebrate rack, mostly a reptile rack that goes all the way down like this. So if we start at the top, I have just got an empty Exoterra that's very, very, very tiny. I don't have a use for this at the moment. I'm sure in the future I will probably find one. I could get like a jumping spider or something. Not that I have any desire to do that, but for now this Exoterra just sits here because I don't have anywhere else to store this. This bottle has BioBoost in, and this one is just my general spray bottle for spraying the reptiles and the invertebrates and all of the bioactive enclosures. So then we have the first proper enclosure. This is my giant African egg-eating snake enclosure for my snake Roo, and it's not looking quite as cute as it did when I first set it up. So I will show you inside, but I did have to replace the plants in this because during a really bad heat wave we had last year, we lost a fair amount of house plants, and that includes the ones in her enclosure. So I'm not really the best when it comes to plants. That is definitely my downfall when it comes to me trying to do bioactive enclosures. So I've just put this one in. I think it's an aloe vera plant, I'm fairly sure. So this is her enclosure. Not quite as cute as it was when I first set it up. I've also switched the sides around to have this hide here and then this hide here, and I think she is currently in this. She spends most of her time in a humid hide, and when I actually need to make it humid, she gets very, very mad at me. So I'll give you a quick peek. There she is, all curled up. You are not going to see much of her, so I will insert a clip of her doing something a bit more interesting, but that is Roo, my African egg-eating snake, and her enclosure. And then next to Roo's enclosure, we just have this critter keeper, which did have one of my very small old millipedes in. I did have a nice big enclosure for a group of millipedes, but over the years they all passed away and I don't want any more. So I did just have a really old one in this, and a couple of weeks ago they did pass away. So instead I'm now using this as extra storage for all of my giant orange isopods. I'm kind of overrun with them in my snail enclosures, so I've just been moving any spare ones obviously into other enclosures, but also into this one too. So that is essentially just what is in that. Not the most interesting thing in the world. I think you can see maybe some of them. And then on top is my snail's protein. And then over in this corner on this wall, we have a green wall at the back. This is my 100,000 subscriber plaque, which I still can't believe I have one of these in my house, on my wall. Me, of all people. But that is where that lives. And then moving down the rack, we also have one of Roo's sheds just hanging. And then this is my snail enclosure. So this is my snail Slushy, my giant African land snail, who is an Archaecatina marginata centralis, and I also have way too many isopods in this that are just breeding like crazy, so they go through the leaf litter and the food pretty quickly, so I do have to remove them quite often, but I don't think you're going to see Slushy, who is all the way back in the dark. I will insert a clip that shows them better, but yeah. This is my snail enclosure if you want to know how I ended up with a snail, why I don't have more snails, or never intended to have a snail. Then there is snail videos on my YouTube that do explain that entire situation. And then, next to this, we probably have the most interesting enclosure you're going to see in this entire video. Don't get too excited. We have an empty one. I had big plans for this. I pretty much bought every single accessory that I would need to have a very, very tiny species of frog that I set my heart on. I was pretty much ready to go in terms of setting this up. I even bought all of the plants, which have now died, unfortunately, but I do have everything ready to go. I've got backgrounds and sides and a little pond section, and I just decided that now is not the right time to have any more animals or any more responsibilities, because we are getting a dog, specifically a puppy, very, very soon, and I just don't want to have too much on my plate. So I'm being good, I'm holding off. I've still got everything ready to do this when I've got more time, but right now is not that time, so unfortunately this one is empty. So finally, right on the bottom of the rack is my leopard gecko Orbit, who lives in this Exoterra. She is right there at the moment, out under her deep heat projector. So this is her enclosure again. She's got a really cute sticker, which I'll link in the description if you're interested in getting these for your enclosures. I'm so annoyed at myself that I've not got one for Roo yet. I really need to do that. I should have done that for this video, but I will get that at some point. Look at her go. She's so clumsy, but she tries her best. But yeah, this is Orbit set up. On top, I've just got a bunch of feeding dishes, some tongs, a thermometer, which you can't see because it's incredibly washed out. And then this just has mealworms in. Here she is. I'm going back to bed. Okay, fair enough. And then all the way over this side, we've got another critter keeper. And this one just has doobie roaches in, that of course are a food source for Orbit. I did get someone say, why did I not put them in my Meet My Pets video? I don't consider these a pet. Some people have cockroaches and doobie roaches as pets. Personally, I don't view them that way. They're just a food source for Orbit, but they have an enclosure set up in the meantime before they end up being food. And right at the bottom of the rack, we have these storage boxes, which I think were from Argos, and they fit perfectly. It's kind of satisfying. Inside these are just all my reptile and invertebrate supplies, things like supplements and cuttlefish for my snails, so not very interesting, but it's all tucked away in there and I know where everything is. So in between the reptile rack and the mouse enclosure, please excuse this wire. This is my lighting because it is incredibly dark today. But this is my air purifier. This was gifted to us by a brand called Ace Cool, and it's a pretty big air purifying unit. One, it works pretty well to reduce any dust in the air, which is super important for rats and mice. It does also help with the odour in here, so that is really handy. I do have it turned off at the moment because otherwise you wouldn't be able to hear me talk and film. But this I also use kind of as a barrier to stop the rats going into this entire corner section where all the wires are, but it doesn't really work that well because they do literally just launch and jump over, so constantly having to sit here and block them. But this is where my air purifier is, and then this is my corner of doom. It has all of my supplies and stuff that I don't really know where to put. I could put them in the garage, I probably should. Usually have a lot of my filming equipment behind this, so my tripod and my light box, but it also has random stuff, extra backgrounds, extra like drainage things I don't really know where to put, so all of that lives tucked away, forgotten, down there, and we just don't look down there. And finally we have this side of the room. This is the mouse section. We've got this archway that I painted on the wall, and then this is the mouse shelf that has like mouse related artwork. This one of my mouse Pearl, and then a painting that Pearl did. A fake plant because I can't keep live ones alive in this room. And then of course we have got the mouse enclosure, which is an IKEA Linmon, which is a DIY enclosure, and it is bioactive. I have made it bioactive fairly recently, and you guys are definitely due an update, so I will do that at some point, not in this video. But this is the enclosure for my mice, and I've got 5 mice in this. We've got my super old mouse Flurry, and then we've got Wren, Lark, Clover and April. Flurry is a neutered male, and then the rest are females that live in this enclosure here. We've got a bunch of different things, cork clogs, sprays, hides. I've done so many mouse enclosure tours at this point, but this is their enclosure. So I have got my mouse enclosure rested on this unit, which I think is the IKEA Trofast. I'm fairly certain that's what it's called. And this just has all of my spare mouse supplies in, which it's not very full at the moment because in another room I've got a bajillion rescue mice that are using every single resource and accessory that I've got pretty much, so it's not looking that full. But we just have like little chew toys and foraging toys in this one, and then in this one I've got all of their like medication, nail clippers, health related things for the rats and the mice, all in this drawer. But this unit is okay. I was quite worried the entire thing might collapse under the weight of the soil, but so far so good. It's not a perfect fit. It looks fine from the front, but I will show you what I mean. So over by the door we have this green bag that is hanging up by a hook, and this keeps all of my hammocks for the rats, the mice, any towels or anything I've used, all contained in this bag until it's ready to go into the washing machine. And when it is, all you do is just throw this entire thing in the washing machine, and it stops any hairs or bedding from actually getting in your washing machine and clogging it up. So this is really good. I just keep it hanging up so it's not just sat on the floor. And then next to this we've got a bag of bedding, which I'm only now using with the rats, so I'm not going through this as quickly as I was. And this time we've just got bed max shavings. This is the mouse food, or the mouse food that goes obviously with the mice. And then next to this, if you drag this out the way, you can see how this does not fit properly. It's not quite the same size as the mouse enclosure, which does kind of work in my favour because I have an extra place to shove things I don't want in sight or behind there, hidden away. The rats obviously love to go in and mess with, but I've got extra bedding, different types like hay and cardboard bedding, all tucked away behind there. But yeah, that is my pet room. It's not the biggest room in the world, and it's definitely not the biggest pet room you're going to see on YouTube, but it's fine, it works for us. I could not manage anything more than this, and it has everything I need. I feel like I've utilised every inch of this space. I could not add one more thing in if I wanted to, so this works for us. This is my pet room that has all of my animals in, and I'm really happy with the way it turned out. Even just watching back the one that I did when we first moved into this house, I've made a bunch of changes. I've got a different rat cage, I've put a few more shelves up, and we don't have as many empty enclosures, so I'm really happy with the way it's turned out, and yeah, I love it. But that is my pet room. I don't really have anything else to add or say. Do let me know down in the comments which enclosure or which animal in this room is your personal favourite. And of course, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video.